Today, I'm going to address how we choose between the head and the heart. As you can understand, when we were very, very young and we didn't get our needs seen, understood, respected, or fulfilled, our heart was broken. And given that the heart was broken and survival trauma parts were created, it was to protect the heart. Protected in this way, I describe that until I did inner child healing, my heart had a wall around it with all the strategies and beliefs that helped to survive, to protect the heart. So that means that there isn't clear access to the heart until you do enough deep inner child work. Then, if you had a choice between the head or the heart, naturally you would choose the head. And when I do inner child healing with my clients, this is what I always encounter: the thinking mind. Trauma parts are wedded to the thinking mind. And what does the thinking mind or the intellect do? It analyzes, it uses logic, it separates things. You know how science works. It puts things into categories to make it more controllable. If you could categorize things, the world becomes less confusing. So the intellect is wonderful in this way into organizing everything in our world in a way that wasn't overwhelming. So why not use the intellect for so many tasks? The unfortunate thing is, in this survival pattern, the intellect is always used unless something intervened to help the person gain the knowledge and wisdom they needed in some other way. But when you realize the nature of the intellect, you realize that there are some pitfalls. As I said before, it takes things apart. It doesn't have answers that are more holistic and gathers for a solution. While I think about it, another choice besides the intellect is intuition. Intuition that seems to grasp all the necessary bits and come up with a solution. So you can choose, if you had three choices, intuition, which we can talk about later. But I want to focus on the choice between the brain, the head, and the heart. Now, one aspect of using the thinking mind, besides uh, using it to try to find solutions, is that the ego, the small self, uses the thinking mind to create fear, to put you down. So when you have the intellect ruling, you often find the judge, the negative critic that I've already spoken about. But I want to elaborate a bit more right here. The judge or the intellect is always comparing you with someone else or comparing you with something else of a similar nature in terms of a product or a result. And the comparison is usually not to elevate you. Rather, the comparison is to put you down. because it comes from the negative judge. Perfectionism is also used by the intellect to point out all the details, all the things you could do better. So, this is how the intellect is used in many ways by inner child parts to not provide the kindness, love, and compassion which the young child needed when they were very young. In fact, the hurt in the heart, the brokenness in the heart was created by too many or significant episodes when they felt very separate and alone. Separate because they needed someone and that someone wasn't there. And they believed, I'm in this life, in this world, all alone. Because that significant event was so painful, that belief was seared into their brain, into the survival parts. And this is why it's very important to watch what the intellect does. The intellect uses duality. Duality meaning good, bad, right, wrong, us, them, like that. And wisdom leaders, literature, and teachers tell us that reality with a capital R is oneness. It's our humanness that categorizes, split things apart, and puts them into categories of duality. So, excuse me, one way that you can detect the operation of ego, the small self, or the negative judge, or the intellect, is to see whether you're judging, whether you're pitting yourself, us against the world, any kind of movement, even the movement of this weekend, where it was all in support of preserving our democracy, is an us them, where we have the right, the proper, the good point of view, and the others don't. And that's why the protests happen. But it is reflecting duality. And when you get engaged in duality, you pull yourself apart from the oneness, the reality with a capital R, and it leaves you not in peace. So this is another indication or way of your discovering whether how close you are to oneness or how much you're allowing the head to dictate how you see what you believe is the amount of peace that you have. In fact, in general, in terms of healing your inner child, you know you're making progress if you have more peace than distress in the course of a day. Happily, I can tell you, for the most part, I am mostly at peace. There are times when intellect might intervene or ego might intervene, so I judge. And the distress, big or little, it creates for me reminds me I'm out of a oneness perspective. I'm making them and the situation different and worse than me. I'm judging. So this touchstone of how much at peace you are, is a wonderful way of judging, judging, evaluating where you are in terms of duality, in terms of healing the heart. Now, just a brief word about the heart. You can choose the heart when the walls around it that is created for protect the heart from further hurt. When that wall dissolves sufficiently by healing your inner child, healing the trauma parts created when life was very painful and trauma parts were born to help you survive and protect you because you didn't feel safe. You felt very alone. You didn't feel good enough. And the only resource you could find in that place was your thinking mind. So it's a very natural thing that we start out emphasizing our thinking mind and our culture in the way that it supports science, all our educational system, math, science, and all the related sciences are supportive of the intellect. There is no education, no space for elevating your emotional intelligence or healing the heart. And that's what I'm about. That's what these videos are about. So considering noticing what dictates what you see and how you feel in the world. And when you can heal your heart, which is what I do in my work with students and clients, you will come to feeling whole, not in parts and conflict. You will feel more at peace. Let me know if this was helpful to you.